Well, hello there. I do hope and pray you're doing wonderfully well on today. I've had several conversations this month alone with clients in my sermon crafting coaching program, and that's what led me to do this video. In 1910, Theodore Roosevelt gave a speech that would resonate for generations. He spoke of the man in the arena, praising those who dare to act rather than criticize from the sidelines. Roosevelt said, and I quote, "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena." Over a century later, these words still ring true, especially when you consider those who preach. Please hear this statement. It's easier to criticize than to preach. Let me say that again. It's easier to criticize than to preach. This simple phrase, I believe, echoes Roosevelt's sentiment, reminding us of the truth that is often overlooked, particularly when it comes to ministry. Every week, pastors around the world pour countless hours into preparing sermons, or at least they should be. And they delve into the ancient texts, wrestling with the complex ideas, and they strive to make timeless wisdom, timeless truth relevant for our modern lives. But when Sunday comes, it's all too easy to sit back and critique what is heard. A word out of place, an illustration that just doesn't quite land, or a point that does not resonate personally with those who hear. And of course, after those realities, what comes? The criticism. Now, when we forget that it takes a whole lot to do what we do, I mean, the immense pressure that pastors face, they're not just public speakers. No, they are shepherds guiding a flock, and each member has unique needs and challenges. Imagine trying to craft a message that speaks to a teenager who's struggling with identity. Imagine trying to craft a message to a middle-aged couple facing relationship issues, or a couple that has been in relationship a long time but has grown apart, or a widow grappling with loneliness. All of this in the same message. For those of us who do it, we know it's a balancing act of biblical accuracy, practical application, and spiritual inspiration. And we do this week in and week out, often while juggling other responsibilities. So, hey, I'm asking the saints, the next time you find yourself about to criticize a sermon, pause. Consider the effort. Consider the prayer. Consider the heart that went into the words that you're listening to. Ask yourself, could you do better? Now, this does not mean that we should never provide feedback to those who are open to receive it. I'm always open to receiving feedback so I can get better at the craft and doing what I do. Or it does not mean that we should not engage in critical conversation around what we hear, but perhaps we can approach it with more empathy, more grace, and more understanding. Just as Roosevelt honored those who strive valiantly, let us appreciate the pastors who step in the arena week after week, facing the daunting task of preaching with courage and conviction. Let's challenge ourselves to be more appreciative, to appreciate the difficulty of the task before we rush to judgment. After all, it's truly easier to criticize than to preach. All my preaching brothers, my preaching sisters, you preach on, be encouraged. You're in the arena every week. You're doing the work, and God will honor it. You take care. Talk to you soon. Peace.